Thank you, Senator Olekina Ledamo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want us to be very sober today and try to prosecute this matter in a process that will be able to set a precedent and also being futuristic. Mr. Speaker, I want to pick it up from where my colleague, the senator from Baringo, has left. And I want to borrow from what is commonly referred to as the doctrine of pleasure. The doctrine of pleasure is derived from the English common law, where it states that civil servants serve under the pleasure of the crown. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the definition of a whip enforces the party's policies. A whip is not there under their own volition for them to be able to determine how party policy should be adhered to. Mr. Speaker, when a whip does not rally fellow legislators to be able to vote on matters according to the party policy, that whip may lose that whip. In fact, in other jurisdictions, they are even expelled from political parties. Mr. Speaker, I believe that this is what informed the drafters of our standing orders. When they drafted standing order number 23, Mr. Speaker, and I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, that your hands are completely tied, because a speaker is not a prefect of political parties. Mr. Speaker, the standing order is very clear. It's written in simple English. It says, upon a decision being made by the majority party or coalition under the standing order, the decision of the party or coalition shall be communicated to the speaker in writing, together with the minutes of the meetings at which the decision was made. Hypothetically, Mr. Speaker, if this Senate is to welcome or entertain injunctions by a tribunal, which tribunal does not set the agenda or the policy of a political party, what exactly are we saying? Are we saying that tribunals are going to define what the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition policy and procedures and constitution shall be? Then what form of government or country are we going to be living in? Mr. Speaker, I want to refer back to the doctrine of pleasure. As a whip, I serve under the pleasure of my party. This cannot be applied with the same logic as to the doctrine of pleasure when it comes to now civil servants in this country post the 2010 coalition. In fact, Mr. Speaker, what I want to say is that any moment leadership is changed, just so that you know you serve under the pleasure of your political party. When the leadership is changed, you lose everything. You lose your staff go home, you lose all the privileges because you've gone against your party policies. Mr. Speaker, loyalty to parties is not something which I should be lecturing this House on, because this House already has precedents. Anytime a member disobeys the party, they are removed. I think, Mr. Speaker, what we should be doing is we should be debating on very important issues. Today, Kenyans were rioting, were demonstrating outside because of how difficult it is now to live in this country. Eric Omondi was tear gassed outside here. Kenyans are demonstrating everywhere, saying it is becoming unbearable to live in this country. We are paid by taxpayers. I don't want to wade into the debate of who is a shareholder of this country and who is not. But the truth of the matter is, there are very important things that are now being set in abeyance until we can be able to resolve this matter of leadership. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to beseech you not to allow party politics to determine the agenda of this House. Because I can assure you that until the party is respected, and when I say, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you, I speak with authority, I speak out of experience, because this thing has happened to me. Senator Olekina standing here. Mr. Speaker, in the last parliament, I was elected by my colleagues as the chair of PAC. But my party decided that I was not the right person to serve as chair of PAC. That is when I started researching on the doctrine of pleasure. I went to court, I got orders, but Parliament made it difficult even for me because Parliament did not want to come in anywhere. And when I say Parliament, I mean the Secretariat in Parliament. I was trying to convene meetings. I could not be able to convene a meeting because my party said I was not going to serve as the chair of that committee. Mr. Speaker, when I saw that is happening, I said, hey, can you take the dictionary and define loyalty? When I did, I went back and I pleaded with my party leader to forgive me for having crossed the line. So, Mr. Speaker, when I stand here and I speak with authority on that subject. Please, you should not be invited to prefects political parties. Mr. Speaker, when we go to our PG, the things that we discuss in that PG do not touch on anything to do with the Senate. Laws. The first thing, which is always precedent, is how are we together as brothers? Do we still believe? Do we still subscribe to the same school of thoughts? So, Mr. Speaker, to end, I want to remind you that a whip is an enforcer of a political party, policies and procedures. A whip loses the whip when they disobey or they act against the political party that that person is serving under the pleasure of that political party. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I've heard my good brother, Senator Cheptumo, alluding to natural justice, talking about, I think I dropped it down here, talking about the right of that politician. Mr. Speaker, I want to submit to my brother that, through the chair, that when it comes to political parties, you have no right. The right is defined by your constitution, which you signed. It is not even the Kenyan constitution. It is the constitution of that political party. Loyalty to the party. And I can tell you, you will learn. If you don't know that, loyalty to the party is the #1 principle when it comes to the doctrine of pleasure. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to beseech you, so that we can now discuss matters which are important to this nation. Please follow the standing orders. Standing order number 23, your hands are completely tied. And I'm sure the Secretariat can advise as much. Your hands are tied, issue the communication, leave matters of political parties to be dealt by politicians outside this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators.